I'm not sure what the astrophysical formula is, but every summer, as the Earth's equator tilts further and further away from the sun, the days get longer and longer, and somehow it seems as if the minutes and seconds get longer too, especially when you're counting down the last week of school. Just ask my brother Pete. Time simply slows down.
Bite my scab!
It's frustrating, especially when your very own personal superhero,
Archie, the strongest man in the world,
is outside waiting for you. As for me and my best friend Ellen, we had to deal with this beast. Science teacher, Mr. Porchman. A total ear gouger, famous for two things. One, chest hair you can see right through his shirt, and two, assigning this deadly final paper on the last week of school, just to watch kids flop around like trout on a hot sidewalk.
For one more week, you troglodytes are mine.
It's mighty strange. You looking at the leafy range. I can't settle in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? It's ended. Don't your dog bite? It's ended.
When you look up at the stars and realize what an insignificant speck of lint you are compared to the humongous immensity of the infinite universe, you've got to ask yourself, how much does a final paper really matter anyway?
Your paper will be worth 40% of your final grade.
It was at precisely that moment that I decided to forget about the universe for a while and concentrate on getting a good grade on that paper instead.
21 pages. Typed, stapled, and on my desk in exactly 147 hours, 22 minutes, and 49 seconds.
What topic did you get?
The transmission of electromagnetic waves through the universe.
Ouch. Mine's the search for complex organic compounds.
You mean like aliens?
I wish. It's more like analyzing the carbon content in soil samples from Mars. Totally boring.
What do you want from a wiper like Porchman?
An A.
I'd take a B-. The stakes were high. Fail Porchman's famous final paper, and you were doomed to a fate worse than death. Summer school. Having survived a year of mental torture from a man who once made us memorize the 9 rings of Uranus, we didn't want to blow it with only a week to go. So we got to work, and by Wednesday, we had almost all the facts needed to satisfy Porchman's sadistic desires. All we had to do was look up a couple of facts at the Blurkman Planetarium, and the summer would be practically in our pocket. Naturally, Pete and Artie tagged along to work on their lunar ballet and almost got arrested. Thinking quickly, Pete mesmerized a security guard with Petunia's newest dance sensation.
She came up with this little number just for you, Smitty.
shake it, baby.
After that, the planetarium was at their mercy. As for us, we were minding our own business at the Big Bang exhibit when this geek from our science class started following us.
Oh, it's Joe Jones.
I think every school has its own Joe Jones. You know the type. Bad haircut, dresses funny, smells a little like steamed vegetables. This particular Joe Jones joined our class somewhere in mid-December. Nobody knew too much about him, except that he only ate ketchup at lunch, had a terminal case of static cling, and always had this blue radio plugged into his ear.
It's supposed to hail tomorrow.
There was also this rumor that his cowlick always pointed magnetic north. It was pretty weird stuff. But as I was about to find out, the weirdest thing of all was the one thing we had in common.
They called it the greatest game ever played, you know.
What?
The 1958 NFL championship game between the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants. First sudden death overtime game played in history. Ever heard about it?
Heard about it? It's my favorite game of all time. 7 minutes into overtime, and Johnny Unitas hands off to S1E02, who takes it in from the one. Colts win 23-17.
Best game I ever saw.
Wait, how could you have seen it? It happened 34 years ago.
Of course I didn't actually see it. I just read about it in a book. You want to know something interesting? Right here in this star system, 365 billion miles away, that game was just played for the very first time.
What do you mean?
It's simple.
Joe explained that after the 1958 game was over, the TV waves that carried the broadcast kept going out deeper and deeper into space. After 34 years of traveling at the speed of light, the waves had gone far enough to bring the game to the Alpha Centauri star system. Wow. So that means if there's intelligent life out there, they would have just seen Johnny Unitas play for the first time.
Exactly.
Johnny U and the Universe. Now that's a research paper I could get into.
It's brilliant. You should do it.
Right. I like Johnny U, but not enough to risk summer school.
You have to, Pete. It's perfect. The first 3 letters in Unitas are the same as the first 3 letters in Universe. Think about it.
Johnny U and the Universe. Yeah, I like that. Let me write that down.
How come aliens never part their hair on the side? I mean, all this scientific speculation on what aliens are supposed to look like. How come you never see an alien with a hair part?
No hair?
Exactly my point. I mean, who's to say that aliens don't have afros?
Or pigtails?
Precisely. I mean, what if there were aliens all over the place, but they looked exactly like us?
Wow. They could be anybody.
The vice president.
Or the Pope.
Or what about Porchman?
No one's above suspicion.
Now that would be quite a research paper.
Wouldn't it? I'd call it The Search for Extraterrestrial Life on Planet Earth. I think I know just where I'd start looking, too.
Cassie's home.
Why don't you do it?
Find an alien in our town?
Sure. You've got 4 days. Besides, I could help you. Do you remember that huge sonic boom in December? What was that all about?
I don't know. Porchman would have a total meltdown.
But what about the dogs in this town? Haven't they been acting a little suspicious lately?
True. But an alien? Here? I mean, what if we don't find anything?
Okay, but what if we do? Besides, Mr. Porchman's a scientist. He'd understand.
Ha! Alien life on our planet.
What about the Bermuda Triangle? Or Stonehenge? Some scientists say that aliens may have a range of stones in order to predict eclipses.
Young lady, the only stones that need arranging are the ones in your head. How dare you presume to discover in 4 days what all of science has never been able to substantiate in 1,000 years?
Maybe they just weren't looking in the right place.
Where
Where is that hall pass?
And you, isn't your topic electromagnetic waves?
It still is, but I want to concentrate on the waves carrying the 1958 Colts-Giants game into outer space. My paper will explore the cosmic connection between Johnny Unitas and the universe.
Oh, no, it won't.
It won't?
Not unless you want to spend your summer in here with me, studying the gas plasma densities of neutron stars. I suggest you stick to topics that are science fact, not science fiction.
Once I started staring at his chest hair, I was a goner. I was powerless.
It's gonna take more than chest hair to stop me, I'll tell you that.
You still want to do it?
Definitely.
But what about the almighty Englishman?
I don't care. I'm not doing it for him anyway. I'm doing it for science.
I'm gonna do it too. For Johnny U. And just like that, in roughly the time it takes a supernova to go critical, we risked everything in the hopes of making our own cosmic connection. Some astronomers begin their intergalactic research with the help of giant radio telescopes. I began mine with a 3-page letter to the great Johnny U. Why was I so obsessed? I'm not sure I can explain it. I never saw Johnny U play a game. I've never even been to Baltimore. My friends, who are fans of superstars like Randall Cunningham, think I have brain damage. I tried showing them the picture that started my worship of Johnny U.
Pete, the guy's not even in color.
But somehow, I don't think they fully understood his majestic splendor. I don't know. Every time I look at it, I see a man who played each game as if the fate of the entire universe depended on him and him alone. I was beginning to think I was the only one left who still believed in Johnny U. But now that Alpha Centauri had gotten their first look at number 19, maybe I wouldn't be alone. I had no idea if Johnny U would understand what I was talking about. But at least Joe Jones seemed to.
It was Unitas at his best. 1 minute and 3 seconds left. Colts down by 3. No timeouts, so Johnny U diagrams the play in the dirt. The only thing is, the ground is frozen solid. So what does he do? He gouges it out using his thumb like a carpenter's chisel.
I never heard about that.
He'd do anything to win, whatever it took, no matter what the cost. He was a warrior, Pete. He fought for all of us.
Despite Joe's enthusiasm, I have to admit we were still a little uneasy about being seen with him at school. So when we needed his help on Ellen's alien test, we snuck him up to our secret place on the roof.
Okay, maybe we should start with basic questions, like, how about this? What color's your mucus?
Subtle.
Here's an idea. Ask them to hop on one foot. If they're new to this planet, they might not be used to our gravity.
Great idea.
Once Ellen and Joe had the test figured out, they checked out their other leads. Sure enough, there had been a sonic boom that past December. And no record of any planes flying over the area. As for the dogs in town, well, they were acting a bit strange. The only problem? Time was running out. But while the minutes and hours zoomed by for us, time seemed to stand still for poor Artie, who waited for Pete until...
Earth to Artie! Earth to Artie! Condition, blue.
Hang on, my little Viking! I'm on my way!
It was a game of death dodgeball, and Pete was seconds away from annihilation.
Hit me with your best shot.
Then, out of nowhere...
Your pitiful weapons are useless against us!
By the the time the dodgeball carnage was over, not a single foe is left standing. Even though he's the strongest man in the world, Artie was still no match for detention. Ellen took advantage of the situation by trying out her alien test on the two most likely candidates on the planet.
Okay, I'll say a word and you say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Cupcakes,
Artie.
lemon-scented.
Let's move on.
Ellen was positive that her alien search would end right there in room 116.
Regular as refrigerator. 19,265. Look at the work, boy. Look at the work.
But after thoroughly testing their physical, mental, and bioglandular capabilities, believe it or not, they both checked out.
Human.
That left just 2 days and the whole town to go.
Do you have any oddly shaped scabs?
I've got one shaped like a bunny.
Describe what you're seeing.
Rocks.
Can you be more specific?
Big rocks.
Is there anything about yourself that you consider abnormal?
Abnormal? No, I don't think so.
$8,051 humanoids later, Ellen began to get a little desperate.
What color is your, mucus? Dad?
Things looked pretty hopeless. While Ellen struggled to find her cosmic connection door to door, I hoped for better luck billions of miles into space. With Joe's help, I figured out exactly when the legend of Johnny U would reach such interstellar outposts as Cygnus, Centaurus, Andromeda, and the monstrous Magellan Cluster. That was the easy part. The hard part was tracking down an expert, somebody who had actually played in the famous championship game. That somebody was Art Donovan, the defensive tackle for the Colts from 1950 to 1963. He was my last hope, the only person who might help me unlock the mysteries of Johnny U and the universe.
Huh? Okay, it's like this. The TV signal that carried the game kept going out into space until finally, after 34 years, it reaches the Alpha Centauri star system.
You mean Martians are gonna see my ugly mug on some kind of space TV?
Yeah, but they're also gonna get their first look at Johnny Unitas.
I'll tell you what, Johnny U's kisser wasn't much to look at either.
Yeah, but what about the way he played? Didn't it always seem like he knew the fate of the world was depending on him? Like that time in the game where he gouged in the dirt with his fingernail? You remember that?
Dirt?
Oh, Mr. Donovan, doesn't it mean anything to you that the first three letters in Unitas are the same as the first three letters in Universe?
Well, the first three letters in my last name is the first three letters in donuts. And you don't see me making a big deal out of it. By the way, does somebody have something to eat around here?
So much for solving the mysteries of the universe.
Oh, thank
With
you.
only 23 hours left until doomsday, I had nothing. No lunch, no paper, and just when I needed him the most, no Joe Jones. Nobody had seen him all day. He had simply disappeared.
After all that we've been through, how could he let us down now?
I don't know. Maybe he has his own problems to worry about.
With summer school staring us right in the face, our last chance was to test each other and hope for the best.
Human, right?
Pretty much. Now test me. What's my magnetic field reading?
Ellen, this is insane. How did we ever let Joe talk us into all this? Porchman's gonna... Wait a minute. We never tested Joe.
Of course. That's why he disappeared. He knew we'd find out.
Right.
The more we thought about it, the more obvious it became. The weird radio, the cow lick, the powerful static cling, and most importantly, the greatest game ever played.
He must have seen it. That's why he knew so much about Johnny U. He must have seen it on his home planet.
It made perfect sense. How could we have been so stupid? It had been Joe all along. Now, all we had to do was find him and maybe our summer would be saved.
Come on.
Joe!
Joe, what are you doing up here?
Looking at the stars. Sirius is out tonight. That's the dog star, you know. I wonder why there's no cat star.
Joe, our papers are due tomorrow.
I know. I haven't even started mine yet.
You got us into this, Joe. Now you've got to get us out.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Yes, you can, Joe. Just answer a few questions.
We won't tell anybody. We promise.
What about Mr. Porchman? Your final papers?
We're not doing it for Porchman. There was no turning back now. The only thing left to do was give Joe the test.
Can you help for us?
I'll try.
One by one, Ellen went through all 39 questions, including one for me about Johnny U and the universe. Finally, at precisely 12 o'clock midnight, Ellen's search for alien life officially ended.
Welcome to Earth, Joe.
Joe answered all our questions about where he came from and how he got here. And then, he answered the hardest question of all.
If you didn't want us to find out about you, why did you get us started on this whole alien search?
I was lonely, I guess. Until that day at the planetarium, you guys wouldn't even go near me. I was a nobody. But then everything changed. We were a team. I didn't want it to end, but I knew it had to. Sooner or later, you'd find out what I really was.
I think we figured out what you were about 2 days ago.
You did?
Yeah, a friend.
And that's how we finally made our cosmic connection.
15, 14.
The next day, as Porchman counted down the seconds until doomsday, his chest hair had its same hypnotic power over me. But I had no problem keeping Joe's secret a secret.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
2, 1.
Sure, we'd have to wait a little longer than some people to get our first taste of summer freedom.
Taking a Mach 17, Artie.
But we didn't care. Because no matter how many rings of Uranus Porchman tried to cram into our brains in summer school, we already knew the most important facts of all. We humans weren't alone in the universe. And now that he'd found us, neither was Joe Jones.